We'll continue this evening with our topic of sex and male-female relations. We will proceed by having Joan read out loud a number of sentences, single sentences I have given her, after which I'll comment on them. And if you want these sentences later on, if you don't get them as she speaks them out, you can get them during the break or afterward, or maybe she'll bring them tomorrow, because some of them are fairly long. All right, Joan, would you read the first one, please?
The purpose of a sex discussion is to understand sex, not to condemn or offend anyone. The purpose of a sex discussion is to understand sex, not to condemn or offend anyone.
That doesn't require a good deal of elaboration. However, you watch yourself as we talk and see whether you feel under attack at any time. You feel that you must give a verbal reply, perhaps a silent one, or an emotional reply to a point that is made, that a truth that is given. You find out where you may feel that something is said is going against what you feel is right, what you feel is natural. Try to be aware of perhaps a small embarrassment, maybe a large one. There is no such thing as anyone in this room, in this class, being condemned for anything, being criticized, being screamed at, being told that you're abnormal. The facts are presented. You watch what those facts do to you inwardly. No human personality can make any of us normal, right, happy, sexually, or any other way. The truth alone, with our receptivity, with its own power, is the only thing that can straighten any of us out, inwardly, outwardly, any way at all. Watch yourself being defensive, perhaps, and have the courage to drop your defensiveness so that you can go through a new kind of disturbance, a new kind of shock, which is the truth trying to tell you that your precious familiar past is nonsense. It doesn't really exist except as you falsely reactivate it. That trying to keep the past in place is what is keeping you unhappy and abnormal, perhaps, right now, sexually, any other way. We want to sit here tonight entirely fresh, entirely new, not being hoaxed by anything that happened to us 10 minutes ago or 50 years ago. And that's quite possible, as long as I cease to love the pseudo-me that was built up out of all these years up to this point here tonight. And you had better watch very, very carefully to see that you perhaps are resisting, perhaps trying to change truth into what you want it to be. Unless you're aware of your resistance, of your fighting, of your saying that, well, my way of life is suitable to me, why can't I continue with it? Watch where you fight, and that's where you have to work. When the truth in you is receptive to the truth you hear, there's no fight. There's only a very, very, very quiet and silent agreement, the agreement of a whole understanding and tranquil nature. Anytime we fight, we are wrong, period. All right, that's a nice little introduction, isn't it? Go ahead, Joan, please.
Samson was clipped when he let Delilah put him to sleep. Samson was clipped when he let Delilah put him to sleep.
Is this story familiar to you? Would you like a brief review? Remember, Samson had been fighting with the Philistines. He tied some foxes, fire to some foxes, sent them loose in the fields of the Philistines and burned their wheat crops up. So Samson was their enemy. So they're out to get him, but they couldn't because of his great physical strength, his power. So they were blocked in getting at Samson until he met Delilah. She lived in the valley of Sorek where he was visiting and fell in love with her, what he called falling in love with her. Good deal of sexual attraction, no doubt. And when the Philistines saw Samson running around with Delilah, they saw their chance to get at him. So they got Delilah aside and said, give him what he wants and find out how we can destroy him, find out the secret of his great strength. So she said, okay. She was given, by the way, I think it was 1,100 pieces of silver for her work. So she invited him to her home, and after a while he got a little drowsy and went to sleep. And while he was half drowsy, she asked him, what's the secret of this great power of yours? How come you're so strong nobody can take you? So he said, well, you get, all you have to do is get 7 fresh shoots out in the field and tie me with that, and I'm powerless, absolutely powerless. So dumb Delilah believed him and told the Philistines that, who was waiting in the next room. And when she thought he was secure with the reeds, why, she yelled out, the Philistines are on you, Samson. They come rushing in. He threw off the reeds and bounced them out of the room. And Delilah went into great feminine tears. You big liar. You lied to me about how I could get you. The dummy Samson comes back again. To the bedroom, no doubt. And after a while, he falls asleep again, and the whole thing happens a second time. In her soothing voice, she asks him, can you imagine this? He just tossed the Philistines out. She has given the show away, and he comes right back again. Does this remind you of any men that you know?
Or women?
So for the second time, she asked him the secret of his great strength. So he says, well, you get 7 cords. It's translated in various ways, but I believe it turned out to be different cords. Bind me with cords and I'll be helpless and the Philistines can take me. So she bound him again and suddenly yelled out, the Philistines are upon thee, Samson. In they come rushing, out they go out in the air again. So he comes back again because there's a certain attraction about Delilah that he likes. And for the third time it happens again, and this time he gives her the old con story. Well, you braid my hair in a certain way and I'll be powerless. It happens all over again. The Philistines are on you. They rush in. They fly out again. And she, this time she really gives him the old dramatic performance. You liar, you phony, you say you love me, and every time you tell me lies about how I can betray you. Now, that isn't very nice of you. And it says that she pressed him day and night. Translation, she nagged him to death. So poor, gullible, stupid Samson finally tells her, well, if you cut my hair while I'm asleep, why, I'll lose my power and the Philistines can take me. It's exactly what happened. He goes to sleep, she clips his hair, he loses his strength, the Philistines come in, they carry him off captive. All right, that's the entertainment part. You can also take it simply as a Bible story with a simple illustration, that a elementary illustration of how human beings betray each other, how there's no love between men and women, how everyone ends up hurting each other and so on. But look for a minute at the esoteric application, the deeper application. Look at all the things in there that we could if we wanted to take all the time with it. See how it connects with what we're studying here, what we're learning. We're learning here, for example, that there's a power that is greater than our human power, something that is not normal, super strength, super power. We also learn that we have it if we do the proper things, but if we sell our souls, if we sell this strength to something not worthy, that we'll eventually lose it. Look at the whole story for a minute, and you could see how it applies to what we're trying to do here. But since this is a class, for the present at least, in male-female relations, you could reverse the story anytime you want and say the woman was betrayed because she went to sleep with the man, vice versa. In this case, perhaps sex was involved, but let's bring ourselves right back to what we're talking about here, right back to a very elementary truth, which is all human beings, all men and women, are in a state of psychic sleep. Everyone, the preachers, the psychiatrists, the man down the street, you, me, we're all under this spell. And under this spell, we are very, very suggestive to lies, to deceits, to smooth words, whereby evil powers want to rob us of the higher strength, the cosmic strength that could be ours. If we were to stay awake, or in our case, if we were to find out what it means to wake up and then stay awake, which we could do if we could remember. I vow to you, the key word in all our work in this class here is the word remember. We don't remember what we know. Will you agree to that?
Yes.
That we don't remember what we know? Look at blabbermouthery, which we've talked about so much here. Why do any of us sit down and dominate the conversation anywhere? At home, with friends? Where do we go on and talk about ourselves, for example? Why? We don't remember. We're asleep because we find our personal little life story so fascinating that we think that other people should be. And we put them to sleep. That's one example. We could get 1,000 examples of how self-centeredness and sleep go together. You and I have been clipped, betrayed by other people, including the opposite sex, because we were asleep. As simple as that, which is why the aim of this class is for us to learn to stop listening to the siren voices of that woman, of that man, and begin to listen to something other than that, which is quite possible for us to do, and we'll get into that more as we go down the list. Start to remember to listen to something that is not a part of our traditional nature, something that does not live in time. And that power that does not live in time, which can be free, could make us free right now as we're sitting here at 7:45. That other power is truth, it's God, it's cosmic consciousness. Use any term you want. Now, if you got clipped today in a small way, you now know why. If I've been clipped in the past, I now know why. If I get clipped and you get clipped tomorrow, there is one reason and one reason alone for it. We prefer the false pleasures of our sleep to the hard work of shaking ourselves awake. There it is. You and I had better start praying for truth to shake us up, to give us more trouble, not less. Besides that, the trouble we want is already there, and you don't even know it. You know how easy that is to prove? I could say certain things, go right around the room to every one of you, and you would get mad. You would get distressed. You would go out of here and talk to whoever you came with and try to defend yourself. Well, I don't think that's right. Or however you would handle it in your negative reaction to what was said. Pray, get down on your knees and pray every morning that you will reveal the problems you already have because of who you are, because of the present nature of your nature. Watch when you make the vow to walk across the room consciously 5 minutes from now, you can't even remember that. And so you walk across the room in wasteful thought, wasting all that energy you could have turned into watching yourself walk across that room, and which for the moment would have freed you from your sleep. For maybe the 3 seconds that you crossed that room, you could have detached yourself from time in which sleep is based. Aren't we tired of getting clipped? You're not clipped by me. I'm not clipped by you, really. Samson was clipped by Samson. And when Delilah got clipped later on, she got clipped by Delilah. Instead of wasting our energy in resenting being clipped, let's put it into finding out why we're so infernally lazy, for one thing. Go ahead, Joan, please.
Be aware of confused and painful attitudes toward sex and the opposite sex, but do not fear them. Be aware of confused and painful attitudes toward sex and the opposite sex, but do not fear them.
How beautiful. What a beautiful thought. Just think, you and I can have all these confusions, all these yearnings, sex confusion, sex problems, thoughts, emotions, guilt, shames, whatever, jealousies, whatever. Look, how beautiful. I can have all these problems inwardly toward sex without fearing it. I didn't know that. I thought that when I had that lustful thought toward that woman, that I had to then be ashamed of myself and then be afraid of the kind of a person that I am. Because I'd been taught that. I'd been taught a moral code that said you should be ashamed of yourself for lusting after a woman or lusting after that man. Boy, I'll tell you, this is so astonishing. I think I'll think about it a little while. And I think I see what that means, that I don't have to be afraid of any self-punishing, any emotional sex ideas, feelings that go through me. I think I can put a connection with something else I've read and learned in the class and come up with the answer. And here it is. I'm walking down the street thinking I'm being spiritual even maybe, and I see this pretty woman in the shorts, and she's my type and all that stuff. And my sex, she doesn't know what I'm thinking. I'm safe. I can think anything I want. And I think this thought, but I know what I'm thinking, and I immediately observe myself thinking this thought, and I feel guilty about it. All right. This is what happened. I looked after that woman and desired her, as Samson desired Delilah. I desired her. Now, I also heard in that class that I can have this without being afraid of it, without reacting wrongly with it. I got it. This is great. Because I learned that if I go into a mechanical and wrong sex thought, one which is unnecessary, wrong being unnecessary, useless, pointless, why waste my time thinking about that woman? I got better things. I really do have better. She's neurotic anyway. They all are. All men too. I tell you what I can do. I can catch myself thinking this thought, and I can understand what it means to put an end to mechanical thought and mechanical emotions and recover instantly from that. Now I'm free again. I'm pure again. I'm innocent again, because I don't go to the second thought which says, you're a guilty sinner lusting after that woman. Wow. Now, if I can get beyond my imagination that I'm doing it, go beyond the imagination and brag that I'm getting spiritual, and see it as a fact, I've got something. Because I'll go into imagination and brag to you that I'm now a spiritual man who never lusts after a woman anymore. But then I see someone, now I'm confused. If I can go into this and see the enormous hard work that I have to do, first go beyond the imagination that I'm doing it, get beyond my laziness of not wanting to do it, give up the pleasure of lusting after her, the false pleasure, till I can actually do it, I can set myself free any second I want. Any second I prefer my freedom to the emotional feeling of hoping, wishing to go to bed with her. I've done that enough to myself. I am not going to be my slave or that woman's slave anymore. Read the sentence once more, please.
Be aware of confused and painful attitudes toward sex and the opposite sex, but do not fear them.
Ha. I can be truly scientific in all my work, freeing myself from my old nature in my relations to the opposite sex. I can be very intelligent in using all these right ideas. I can be scientific instead of fearful. That's it. I can be scientific instead of fearful. The scientific way, saying, I saw what happened when I saw that woman, I can go to work on it. That is intelligence. I don't have to fear it. The minute I fear it, I've kept the second thought going. The second thought will cause the third one. First I saw her and was ashamed. Then I'm afraid of it. Once I'm afraid, I say I better hide it. Then I say, what kind of an animal am I, lusting after every woman I see? I'm going to break the chain right now. I am not going to let it take me over for one more second. It took me over. I was asleep. I saw her, and bang, the eyes go, the motions go, the mechanical happen. But I can correct it. I can correct it as soon as I can remember to correct it. And I can do that all day long. I don't care if I fall 100 times, not just in that area, but being jealous of someone with a bigger car. I can stop that. Seeing that looking in the mirror and seeing that I'm growing older, I can stop that wrong reaction. It doesn't have to go to the second thought. But what will happen to me when I grow so old that I die, for example? I can stop it right now. And you in this room and you listening to this tape can stop all your negative rollings right now. Do it. Do it by being wide awake right now. Don't let your past sweetly lull you to sleep. Don't listen to Delilah anymore. Read the next one, please, Joan.
Anyone tyrannized by wrong sex ideas will always take his wrong ideas as his correct understanding of sex. Anyone tyrannized by wrong sex ideas will always take his wrong ideas as his correct understanding of sex.
Just as we take every idea with which we've identified, just as we take every idea about ourselves as being right, we have to be loyal to our own neurosis in order to keep the neurosis going, in order to think that I exist. I don't care particularly whether I'm neurotic or not, as long as I'm someone. Not knowing that my neurosis is destructive. I'd rather destroy myself than be no one. You watch And I started off with this a bit. You watch how you fiercely protect your present sex patterns. You watch. And out of that watchfulness can come correction in many, many ways. For example, whatever your sex life may be, whatever it may be, you are in charge of it, not that husband or wife or whoever. You are in charge of it by being natural and whole. In charge of yourself, your sex life is not taken over wrongly by anyone else, physically or mentally or emotionally or marriagely. Don't you let anyone dictate in that area to you. And when you really understand, you won't. You will be in charge, you who you really are. Don't protect your own wrong ideas and watch how they fight you. They want to hang on to you. You drop them for your sake, or in my case, for my sake. Read the next one, please.
A woman who seeks what she imagines are the advantages of being a man will lose her actual and natural benefits as a woman. A woman who seeks what she imagines are the advantages of being a man will lose her actual and natural benefits as a woman.
I think you understand that one quite well. This happens to be addressed to the ladies. We'll address the men too. Goes back and forth. Any of you ladies ever felt that men had more advantages than you?
Yeah.
They get better wages. They have more authority. They're in charge. And you would like to have a little of that power for yourself?
Yes.
Who wants to have a little of that dumb power? What on earth are you asking for? The same sickness that man has? What on earth are you envying? His need to be tense all day long, to pretend to be in charge of himself and of that office and of those other people, and even pretending to be in charge of you because he is the male and the strong one. Ladies, dear ladies, sometime very quietly and observantly look into that man's eyes and see what a tired, scared little boy he is. And you want what he has? Read it again, please.
A woman who seeks what she imagines are the advantages of being a man will lose her actual and natural benefits as a woman.
As long as women are not women, and you understand what I mean by that, they will always think that there's advantages in being a man and will try to get them and will lose your femininity and all the natural beauty and grace and quietness and power that goes with being a whole woman. You're cheating yourself, ladies, when you envy a man in any way at all. Look. You even envy him because you do the same work he does. You do exactly the same work as that man in the desk next to you, and he gets $40 a week more than you. You envy him. Look, what has the money got to do with it? Do you want God or $40? What on earth is the matter with your mind that you join these stupid organizations, male, female, who want their rights? You'll be just as sick after you get them as you were before. And you don't even know that. And those of you listening to this tape, listen to this too. You can conquer the world, ladies, by being a whole woman. You can conquer the whole world in the right way, as Christ himself taught, by being a whole woman. Now, what more do you want than your whole world? Men, you can conquer the world rightly by being a whole man. And what more than that do you want? Raise your hands to yourself, please, not necessarily in the air. In fact, don't raise them in the air. But let me see the mental hands of those of you who have a sex problem in any way at all, any form at all, that have a problem related to sex. Anyway, all right, now you've answered your own question, and we can go on from there. You connect everything that we've heard so far, and you'll hear in future classes. Let it sink in and watch how that problem will disappear in the light of your own light. I have created my problems, you have created yours. When I get myself out of the way, you get yourself out of the way, where's the problem? Including problems connected with that man in your life, that woman in your life. When my mind works clear, when it loves truth more than it loves excitement, I never have a problem with that woman. I never have a problem with that man. How can I? My world is right here, R-I-G-H-T. My world is right here. It's right out there. That world cannot contaminate, hurt, influence this world at all. Do you mean to tell me that darkness can influence light? Not at all. All right. We've had a lot to talk about up to this point. You have any questions? Anything you'd like to talk about? Any comments? Please be frank in your questions, in good taste, of course.
The one thing I always envied in men, this is because I didn't know any better, was the fact that they were free to go where they pleased, to do what they pleased, when they pleased. There was nothing unusual about it. And there was nothing unsafe, nothing dangerous about it. And that was a very big envy with me for many years. But now, as a result of the work, I can see that they weren't any freer than I was.
Certainly not. Your prison was your envy, was it not?
Yeah.
What is this business of envying anyone for anything anyway? Anyone for anything anyway. You have envy because you have an idea of how your life should be, and someone else has got it. Drop the idea, then see if you give attention to that richer man, that younger man, that sexier man. See whether you give them the slightest attention. You won't. You will not be wasting your life in envy of other people. You will be normal. And normality doesn't waste itself at all. It just lives. You can walk through the middle of anything untouched. You'll be Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel-less in the lion's den. Will you go through the upset? Or do you want to stay, quote marks, peaceful? You want to play it peaceful? And come here and resist and let Delilah lull you to sleep so she can clip you again and again until she finally leads to your destruction? Or will you submit to the jolt, the shaking, the cosmic earthquake inside, so that you scream and holler and hate everybody, which you always did anyway? You're just seeing it now. And be so shocked by how much hatred you have in you. Are you willing to go through that so as to destroy your loving images, your lovely images? If so, there's hope for you. Your prayer again should be, how much conscious trouble can I give to myself today? I don't want to walk in my sleep anymore. I get bumped. I fall down too much, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the bruises. I'm tired of putting up with people whom I think I must please. I'm so weary of saying the right thing to you, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to walk out. And now you will have to find someone else to feed your neurosis. I'm not going to do it anymore. I've paid enough. I've found out I don't have to pay. I'm not going to waste my mental money anymore. Chuck.
Like you said, when you look at a woman with lust and then don't fear it. But then, a couple of weeks ago you said, may heaven help you if you look at a woman with lust.
Sure. Where's the contradiction?
No contradiction, except in my mind at the time. Then I wished I didn't ask the question.
Nice and loud, please.
The contradiction is in my mind. But you sort of explained it to me. I can't say it in words.
If you want to think about it and come back later with a clear statement.
I had it earlier and I can't.
Yeah, you'll come back with it. It's all right.
Perhaps you could discuss the question of approval with regard to one's sex life. That is, I know that especially last week a number of responses came through. The question behind the response was something as follows: whose approval are we seeking in our sexual behavior?
Okay.
If anyone's.
Uh-huh.
And you brought the subject up again here just in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
Perhaps we could elaborate
All right.
on that.
All right. The idea of approval or disapproval. When I am adequate, when I'm whole, when I'm right, sexually or any other way, do I ever go into terms, the opposite terms, of approval and disapproval to myself or to anyone else? Who is sexually inadequate? You're not the great lover or loveress that you want to be? Who? Even the thought about it creates, in the first place, the inadequacy, the wrongness, because you want to be known as someone who is a great lover or even a bad lover. Because if I'm a bad lover, then I can get some sex books and learn how to be a good lover. Don't you think there's something higher in life than that? When you get that something higher in life, your sex life will be right. And it won't be in terms of approval or disapproval at all. Because you will be above the opposites, above the mental level, which always divides itself into opposites. And you will be natural. You will be natural, which is right. You can't be natural when you want approval or have disapproval. of yourself or from someone else. Don't you let anyone else, with their words or manner, get you more mixed up sexually than you already are. Don't you listen to people who criticize you, because you're too weak yet. You're too weak, and you take that criticism as criticizing you. You still think that there's someone there to be criticized. There's no one there at all. Who's the criticism falling on? The criticism is falling on your accumulated package of I. All my life, all the women I've met have been told me that I'm a bad lover. I'm not even courteous. What's the matter with me? Those other men, I see how they behave. The women adore them. What's the matter with me? The matter with you is that you're an egotist. The matter is you want to please a woman in order to please your own idea of yourself being a good, adequate male. Will you stop pleasing women? Ladies, will you stop pleasing men and start pleasing God? Stop selling your soul to the opposite sex. Which you miserable little men are doing, and you miserable little women are doing. Then sex is right. Because you are in charge of it, not your neurosis, not your phony dreams, not your obsessions, not your wish to be loved. He doesn't love you anyway, ladies. She doesn't love you anyway, men. She's incapable of it. He's incapable of it. Let's us be capable of it. Learn what it means. Learn what it means to live alone internally. Learn what it means to live alone internally. Then you will find that this living all alone within yourself is all you need. Because then the normal, natural contacts with the social world, with men, with women, will be directed and empowered by this normalcy of living freely within yourself, all alone. Which means you're not dependent on anyone psychologically, wrongly that is. We have needs of other people, even psychologically. Socially, we're social here tonight. This is a normal thing, isn't it? Normal. I'm talking about wrong social contacts, where you trade yourself and sell yourself. Yes.
In other words, how I understood it, what you say, to be, when I'm right within myself, I will give sex the right attention, not the wrong attention I have been giving it all along.
Correct. Correct. The whole, I've told you this before and I'll repeat it. When we're sexually right, it is because the whole, W-H-O-L-E, is in charge of the part, right? The all is in other words, the all of me, the wholeness, cosmic wholeness, call it what you want, is directing, sending orders to the sex part, or to the mind, or to the emotions, or to the physical body, or whatever, to the desires, so that we have right desires and not wrong desires. The whole is in charge of the part. If the part is faulty, the part then becomes an obsession and says, I am the whole. Everything must submit to me. The part becomes the petty dictating God, and it has no conscience at all. It'll rip the world apart to get what it wants, which is mainly to prove that it is a God unto itself that the other part should submit to. For example, Sexual obsession could lead to lying to other people, in a man's case, to lying to a woman, betraying her to get what he wants from her. So the obsessive part lies, goes to the mind, it lies, the emotion lies, the physical body lies. He smiles and tells her how beautiful she looks tonight, because the obsessive part is in command of the other parts, and they weakly follow along. When all the parts are harmonious and work together, then sex takes its orders from the whole, and there's no problem. We will continue with our series entitled Sex and Male-Female Relations. I've given Joan a list of short sentences, short thoughts, which she will read aloud twice, after which I'll comment on them. Go ahead, Joan, with the next one on the list.
One part of a woman wants to dominate the man, while another part of her prays she will fail. One part of a woman wants to dominate the man, while another part of her prays she will fail.
This, of course, is commenting on it from the lady's viewpoint. And if you ladies will observe your contacts, relations, experiences with men, you will see how true this is. You want an ego victory over the man because this thinks it proves your what? Your superiority or your so-called equality. You know what you ladies do with men? When you meet a man, you know what you do the instant you meet a man for the first time? Very subtly, of course, not openly, because you're very good actors, actresses, as men are good actors. When you ladies meet a new man for the first time, you begin your testing of him. You want to test him. You being insecure, weak, uncertain, not knowing what life is all about, what you are all about, you just hope that this man you meet may have authentic strength, that he may be able to guide you properly, to be strong for you. Now, part of this attitude is right and part of it is wrong. Wishing a man to be strong so that he can help you, that part is right, but then it gets distorted. And so you begin to test a man in very small ways. You watch him very carefully. You watch the way he behaves in public, in private. You watch his pettiness. You want to see what kind of a man he is. You're testing him all the time, hoping that he might be strong. But if by rare chance you meet a man who has even 1 ounce of strength in him, the minute you see this strength in him, instead of accepting it as being right, which it is, you resent it, because you take it wrongly as it being a challenge to you. You're all mixed up, in other words. If you meet strength in a man, you have no idea of what to do with it. A certain part of you recognizes it as strength, but because you're divided and not whole, another part of you resents the strength and is jealous of it and wants to destroy it. The evil part in you wants to destroy the one small part of rightness that you accidentally find in a man. Or, if the man is truly taking the masculine part properly, you resent that because you don't as yet know that you must take your feminine part properly in order to relate rightly with his right male part. So you test and test a man, and if you see weakness in him, woe unto him. Because you ladies are evil too. When you see weakness in a man, there's a very evil part of you that chortles in glee. Now I've got someone to prove my rightness with. And so you torment the poor man in many ways, of which you are unconscious. You call it love and nice marriage and all that. And you're cruel to him and get a sick, neurotic, false feeling of life out of being cruel to that man. If he wants sex, you know how to use that to torment him, for example. Read it again, please.
One part of a woman wants to dominate the man, while another part of her prays she will fail.
The prayer that you will fail in dominating a man is right. You know very well, ladies, you know very well, deep down, the part that nature, God has given you to play in relationship to that man. And the terms superiority, inferiority, or equality have nothing to do with it. Get rid of those three words: superiority, inferiority, and equality. All three words have no meaning at all when you are right as a woman. The one small right part of you, ladies, wants to fail. You want your neurosis to be ineffective. You want to die to it, to give it up, so that man, the right part of the man, can rightly be in right relationship with your femininity. Then you have a very nice male-female relationship. You had better pray that you fail in your effort to dominate a man, to have power over him. The more you fail, the more you succeed as both a human being and as a woman. If you succeed in dominating a man, you fail your femininity, and you fail God, and you fail yourself. You want to be really happy, you want to have a right relationship as God intended you to have with a man, then be a pure woman. That is a whole woman, an all woman. And that's quietness and contentment and no need to prove anything. God has done the work for you. Accept the work that God has already done for you, ladies. Now reverse it, and everything I said applies to the men too. Read the next one, please.
The real and only reward of being a man or a woman is to be fully a man or a woman. The real and only reward of being a man or a woman is to be fully a man or a woman.
Since I just commented on that, we'll go on to the next one.
Find yourself before you find a woman, after which you will know what to do with what you have found. Find yourself before you find a woman, after which you will know what to do with what you have found.
Is that clear to you? Not clear to you? All right. You may use your memory to think back to your experiences. Ladies, think of your experiences with men. Men, think of your experiences with women. Think particularly of what went on inside of you, mentally, emotionally, sexually even, when you met a new man, a new woman. You will find that you were quite nervous with her. Both of you were nervous. You were uncertain. You didn't really know how to behave properly toward that man or that woman. What you did know is what you wanted. But knowing what you want is not the same thing as knowing how to behave correctly. And correct behavior means that you have found yourself so that when you meet a man or meet a woman, there's not the slightest demand. There's not the slightest trickery, not the slightest subtlety, not the slightest hope that you'll get something from him or her. Because you have found through your hard inner work that is torment. And gentlemen, you're going to look at that beautiful, sexy-looking woman, and you are not going to fall into the trap of hoping she'll end up in the bedroom with you, for example. You've gone that route often enough. And you ladies, what did you want from that man? You've gone that route often enough, and you've seen that it ends in torment. You've seen that it ends in having to use every little bit of skill you have, watching carefully to try to make things turn out according to your desire. And you're so weary of that. You're weary of it, but you don't know what else to do. And you have no other tools but then the tools of trickery, scheming, planning, hoping. and anguishing, fearing that you may not get what you want from that man or that woman, why don't you give up the whole mad business of looking at a man or a woman and then asking, what can I get from this person to fulfill me? That lost woman that you're looking at who's so attractive, that lost man who you look at who looks so attractive, has nothing whatever to give you of an eternal value at all. They can give you a thrill, a brief romance. Then you are right back where you started, and so is she, and so is he. Why don't we aim for something higher? Aim for something higher, then you'll be in command, complete command, without desire, without hope, because you're living with God. You're living with truth instead of your own. If he will just be strong for me, if he will just tell me that he loves me, if she will just write me a love note and put love at the bottom of the letter, then I'll feel so good. Wake up. Maybe you don't quite realize it yet, that there is something more to life than a love letter with a bunch of X's at the bottom of it. This is the level you're operating at. This is the level which torments you. I am telling you, whether you know it or not, that there is a way of living that is far above that. Then if you should get a love letter with a bunch of X's at the bottom, it will fall on your understanding instead of on your loneliness and on your emotions. You don't even understand that there is a God who exists, that there's a truth which exists above these petty emotions which seem to fulfill you for the moment, and now you're waiting for the mailman again, the phone call again. Okay, go ahead and be a slave to the mailman and the phone company if you want. And you had better start saying, I want nothing more to do with that kind of life. This is the way I've lived all my life. And I'm going to start to be above it. I'm going to ally myself with truth instead of my own yearning neurosis. Because I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being dependent on that man being faithful to me, that woman being faithful to me. I'm tired of hoping that he or she will say, I love you. I want to be free of all that. And when you're free of all that, you will have a perfect relationship with every man or woman in your life, regardless of the intimacy or non-intimacy of the relationship. Joan.
The other person has a right to his own life, and you have no right to demand that he give it to your neurosis. The other person has a right to his own life, and you have no right to demand that he give it to your neurosis.
You think that you don't do this? I will tell you, in your male-female relations, this is 99% of your relationship with that man or that woman. Did it ever occur to you, when you go up and talk with another person, that maybe he doesn't want to talk to you at all? Did it ever occur to you that he may want to be thinking his own thoughts? Did it ever occur to you that he has a right, she has a right to his or her own life without your interfering with it, because you are so troubled and so desperate and so lonely that you are compelled to walk up and interfere with his life? This is very profound, very deep, and you do it all the time, without realizing that you do it, which means you don't have real love for that woman, real love for that man, because you bother him all the time. You bother her all the time. Your surface false personality is forever interfering with his or her right to be quiet. The noise of your neurosis is so insistent that you think you should go up and blab to him, tell him your troubles. You husbands come home and tell your wife about what happened to you at the office or wherever. She patiently listens while thinking of something else. You think, dear husband or dear wife, that your life is the only one that exists or has a right to exist, and so you impose your false life on the other person. And the only reason he or she endures it is because he or she is hoping for their turn next. And she or he will take his or her turn next. Once he's through complaining about the mean boss, she will start complaining about the mean neighbor. This is very profound. You watch yourself in daily operation and see how much love you have for anyone. You will find that you have none at all. You are so desperate. Your neurosis is so flooding inside of you. The pressure is so great, you have to spill it over onto other people and get them just as wet as you are with it. You start to go through the conscious pain of not nagging other people with your own neurosis. You catch yourself about to walk up to someone to tell them your troubles, or tell them something that you even think would be helpful to them. You are teaching them. I didn't hear them ask for you to teach them. They will tell you when they want to be taught. And if you're smart enough to catch the signal, you'll know when they are asking for it in the right way. Otherwise, don't teach them. You're not teaching them at all anyway. You just want to keep up your image of being a teacher. You want to say, at last I have someone who will listen to my great wisdom. You catch yourself about to go up to bother someone, to put it simply. Catch yourself right in the middle of the impulse to go up and bother them, and don't do it, and watch what a hell it becomes to you, to put a conscious opposition to your own neurotic flood. That is healthy. That is great. That is intelligent. That is right inner work. That doesn't stop them from flooding you with their neurosis, but that's another matter, and you can begin to work on that too. When you see them approaching you, watch very consciously what happens when they tell you their life story. Watch how you resent it, how you want to leap in with your comments. All this is good conscious work. Read it once more, please.
The other person has a right to his own life, and you have no right to demand that he give it to your neurosis.
Your wife and your girlfriend, your husband and your boyfriend have a right to their own life. Whether or not they want these inner truths or not has nothing to do with it. You are working on yourself. Allow other persons the liberty of their own life, even if the liberty of their own life is to destroy it. Light has nothing to say to darkness anyway. Go on to the next one, please.
Whatever you get from a man or woman is the answer to the prayer of your present level of being. Whatever you get from a man or woman is the answer to the prayer of your present level of being.
Do you understand that? Whatever your level of being, that is, whatever your level of understanding or misunderstanding, that level is your prayer. That level is asking for what it gets. It has to. It has no choice. Birds of a feather flock together, to use a very simple illustration. If my particular neurosis is identification with a political movement, a revolutionary movement, or whatever, if my particular neurosis takes itself out in saying a change of government will solve everything, what will happen? Very automatically and effortlessly, my neurosis, taking itself out in politics, will draw me to the meeting hall where like-minded neurotics are gathered. Birds of a feather flock together. We assemble with those we resemble, neurotically. I will go down to that hall, and then all the thousands of lies begin. Let us join together to make this a better world by killing the people in power, for example. Read it once more, please.
Whatever you get from a man or woman is the answer to the prayer of your present level of being.
The people you constantly associate with, now you have to put several pieces of intelligence together on this or you'll miss it and you'll make a wrong interpretation. The people you associate with that you get in trouble with sooner or later, you associate with them because they are on your level. Your neurosis is attractive to them and vice versa. The only way you're going to stop this harming of yourself through association with them is to raise your level so that you no longer want to associate with them. What you have on a higher is now on a higher level, therefore it does not yearn for the lower level. You've got rid of the lower level through hard work on yourself. So you want nothing to do with playing the lying game with them, whether it's politics or romance or whatever it might be. So the only answer you have, if you ask, how can I stay out of trouble with other people in any way at all, is to raise your level of consciousness, your level of understanding, which means that it will have nothing to do with their lower level. And as you work on yourself in this regard, you find many, many interesting things happening. You will find in working with another person that if they happen to have something that is severely neurotic, the right part of you will instantly recognize it and refuse to go along with it. And to connect it with sex directly, you will not go along with wrong sex practices with a man or with a woman. You will refuse them, having raised yourself not through vanity but through light, so that you'll be able to recognize a sex practice that is wrong. You want nothing to do with it and you will refuse it, which is a help to both yourself and to the other person if the other person wants to straighten him or herself out, which they probably don't. But you have done what is right for yourself. You have given up the false pleasure of agreeing with another person in a false sex practice, for example. You have risked the losing of them. Wouldn't that be nice to risk losing a neurotic sex partner? An abnormal sex partner? How delightful. I congratulate you. You do indeed, we do indeed get what we pray for every time. Eventually the time comes when our prayers, instead of being neurotic and destructive, become healthy prayers. They become wholesome prayers. Because you are saying, first of all, I want what is truly right for me, dear God, dear truth. I want what is authentically right for me. I don't know what it is yet, but this is my primary prayer. Give me what is true, what is right for me. You have asked, and you will receive. God will not fail you. He will begin to guide you. The light will begin to guide you, to give you higher understanding. A very quick perception of how to behave when you meet that man or that woman. And that perception may say to you, have nothing whatever to do with him or her. Your perception will say, you be right within yourself, and that other person, whatever relationship he has with you at the present time, cannot be a problem to you. No way at all. And if you continue to remain true, you will lose people who don't want what you are aiming for. Sooner or later, you will lose everyone, man or woman, who does not want what you now want. You'll have nothing in common. You could have it common with them down at the office, of course, but that's not personal, is it? That's an accidental forming. You see, a conscious man or woman can have accidental associations with anyone down at the office. You go to your relative's house to visit, and you have an accidental association. But you are in charge of that accidental association. And as you are conscious, you then choose your non-accidental associations, so that the only people in your life are people who are at least beginning to want the same light that you want. And you will have a good relationship with them because you understand each other, which is why we have a good relationship in this room with each other, because all of us have said to one degree or other, I'm mixed up, but one part of me says I want the light. So that part in every one of us in this room is associating rightly, and we know without thinking about it that we have a good relationship, don't we?
Yes. The one true source of correct sex instruction is your own real nature. The one true source of correct sex instruction is your own real nature.
Isn't it nice? Aren't you grateful that truth itself will give you the answers, will give me the answers? I may have help from someone else. I can hear knowledge of sex, of male-female relations. I can acquire knowledge of it, and that's necessary. But even that knowledge itself is not of the teacher, of the speaker of the book. It doesn't belong to him or her, does it? It belongs to truth itself. And even above the knowledge, there's higher guidance. So that it should be a great relief to all of us seated here now, and those of you listening to this tape, it should be a great relief to understand that finally I can become my own right teacher, not the I of surface personality, of memory, of time, of the acquired self, but the real I, which is truth itself, the real kingdom of heaven within. Isn't it nice to know that God and I are one? And when God and I are one, Christ said, I and the Father are one. When God and I are one, that is perfect instruction. So I don't have to listen to some outside authority and wonder, well, I wonder whether that is true or not. I don't get it. What he said conflicts with what I believe or what I want to believe. I don't have to go into that at all. I can work on myself until I come to the point where I can know from my own nature what is right and what is wrong. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm sure all of you, and I know I have, many times have been out in a situation where you're talking with other people, maybe men out on the lunch hour down at the office or out in the construction gang or wherever. And men or women were standing around making sex jokes, making sex comments about men, about women. Maybe the men were talking about some woman that they'd all slept with, or something like that. And everyone had a good laugh over it. Here's this woman, the camp follower perhaps, who everyone has slept with, all the men. And all these men stood around talking about her, that she was okay, but she was every man's woman and all that. And they were laughing about it. All right. If you have an ounce of rightness, an ounce of decency in you, just beginning to work on yourself maybe, and you have reached the point where you can observe a conversation like this, and you listen to all these men laughing about that woman, about the fun they'd had with her and all that, and you're turning your attention back on yourself to find out what is right in this situation, that will be the beginning of truth speaking to you when you understand how cruel these men are, how terrible these men are to laugh at and degrade a woman who was lost, a woman who was suffering very badly. And these sick psychopaths think it's a joke that they took this woman and had fun with her, and it's a joke. It's no joke at all. It's no joke to that poor woman who's suffering. She's on their level. We understand that. But it's no joke to that poor woman, and it's no joke to those sick men whose idea of fun is to joke about sex with that woman. A part of you is sitting back, and a very small part of you says, don't you dare take a part in this sickness. Don't you dare. You have nothing to do with that. It's evil, it's sick, and a small part of you says, stand apart, and don't you laugh at that joke. Don't you take a part in it at all. This is the beginning of our essence instructing us the difference between right and wrong. I don't care if there's 50 men out there laughing. Don't you laugh, or you'll be just as sick as they are. You understand? If we're working on ourselves, that truth will begin to teach us. Joan, read the next sentence, please.
Something magnificent happens when one small part of you submits to rightness. At the same time, your other 99 parts rage in hostility against the submission. Something magnificent happens when one small part of you submits to rightness. At the same time, your other 99 parts rage in hostility against the submission.
Do you understand that? Can you find one small part of you that will not fight the truth, the truths that you hear right in this room? Or are you so immersed in unconscious fighting that you don't even know what it means to fight the truth that wants to set you free? You don't see how what you call you, which is nothing more than your collection of experiences, you don't see how you constantly leap in to ward off the threat, what you think is a threat, to your present sense of existence. Try to see right here as you're seated in this room and the rest of your life how you, the acquired you, constantly leaps in to battle against anything that threatens its existence, because you prefer the familiar and the comfortable to that which you do not as yet know. You feel secure in your little corner of life, that you refuse to come out of it. You refuse to come out of it and engage in the right kind of battle. I'm afraid we're all pretty much little tiny cowards who want to sit back and say, I am right, and not even having the courage to go out and see that you are wrong. We have very little to start with, but thank heaven that very little that we can have, and perhaps do have, is sufficient to start. Is sufficient to take that one step down the road to something quite different than we'd ever known before. And I've told you before, when you start to do right battle against the dark parts in you, you watch how the dark parts begin to rage and to scream and to lie to you. Oh, they'll lie to you. And they often succeed, because when we're young in this, we don't know the difference between a lie and the truth. And so we listen to lies and pay the consequences for it. We stop our little journey or go off onto a side road, all because we're unable to distinguish between what is true and what is false. That's all right. I've told you what to do. Now I'll repeat it again. It's one of the most important thoughts we've ever been given in this class. Walk forward while trembling if necessary, but walk forward. Never mind if you're scared. What's that got to do with it? Never mind if you feel unworthy of God. What's that got to do with it? That's a delusion anyway. Who's the you who's either worthy or unworthy of God? See? We've caused our own problem by saying I am worthy or I'm unworthy. That has nothing to do with it. Your task, my task, is to blunder forward. How easy that is. Can't you blunder forward? What do you care if you're ashamed of the stupid mistake that you now observe for the first time? which you've made all your life, which we've made all our lives. We're simply becoming aware of how dumb we always have been. What do we care about that? It's the dumbness that is damaging us. Becoming aware of the dumbness, the awareness of the dumbness is the beginning of the end of its power over us. Therefore, the beginning of the end of our own destruction at our own hands. Why don't you place yourself right in front of God, right in front of truth, and say, I'm going to walk right toward you, dear God, dear truth, regardless of all the consequences. And you will see, as I've told you before, that if you will do this and blunder forward, walk forward while trembling, while being scared, if you will walk forward while trembling as to what is going to happen to you, something will happen to you, but what happens is always good, not bad. Do you mean to tell me you don't understand yet that your walk toward God is the only good thing that can happen to you? The destruction of your false sense of self is good, not bad. But having enclosed ourselves, identified ourselves in this little small cocoon that we call ourselves, we're afraid of its destruction, not knowing that a butterfly can emerge in its destruction. If all we know is being a cocoon, we will stay then in that and live in dreamland. Miserable, miserable dreamland. Refusing to let truth shatter our misery. Have no care as to what will happen to you at the hands of truth. It will be good, it will be beautiful, it will be something you do not now know. Dare the unknown. See, I will tell you, you do not as yet really know that God exists. You quote it. You say you believe in it, and you read books. And if I ask you whether you believe in God, you nod your head. It has no meaning at all. You don't know that God exists. You can only know that God exists when you see that you don't. You can know that God exists only when you understand that you don't exist. On the other side of you is God. It can't be both you and God. That's egotism. That's vanity. There's not two things. There's one thing. The ending of you is the beginning of God. Take the first step. Never mind what happens to you. It is healthy. It is beautiful. It is oneness. All right, we have lots of time for open discussion and questions. Would you like to talk a while?
Listening to you now, I feel like I'm going into self-imposed monastery life.
You feel that you're going to a self-imposed monastery life.
Right.
Why do you feel that? What is causing that feeling?
My inner essence changing.
No, the feeling of being in a monastery must come from your false sense of self. This is the way of liberation, not confinement. Drop the thought that you're entering either confinement or liberation. Drop the thought. If you even go into the thought that you're being liberated, you will go into confinement, because the thought is the confinement. Thinking about either liberation or confinement is confinement. We're above thought. Yes.
Last night you said, observe yourself walking across the room. What are you observing? Your physical body?
Partly your mind, everything. Everything. Just know. Just know that you're doing it. Just know. Just feel. Just sense that you're doing it. And when you're doing it rightly, and it takes time even to do such a simple thing as that, you'll begin to sense the absence of something. Sense the absence, for example, of your usual wild thoughts that you are usually in when you walk across the room. You watch yourself. What is usually in your mind when you walk across the room? Oh, I must get that ham sandwich. I must turn on the light. You will notice, first of all, the absence of something, which is the absence of the usual mechanical motions that have taken us over. Practice and the question will become quite clear to you. You'll be your own answer. Yes, Sarah.
I have been watching my physical self lately.
Yeah.
I noticed several weeks ago that I was a little down, a little depressed, and I went in the kitchen, I got a cup of coffee, and I sat down at the table a certain way, and all of a sudden it was just like I had been shot. I realized that I was in a position of depression. My whole physical body was sitting that way, and I was going to feel low. And when I got up from the table and went on, it just kind of went away.
All right, but let us hope that it wasn't merely a mechanical opposite that made you feel better. See, maybe you thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll go out and work in my garden. I like that. That would be another escape, see, a mechanical reaction. You're no longer depressed because you've got thought to keep you excited, which is a false state, you see. Not that it's wrong to enjoy yourself in the garden, but to get a feeling of self out of it would be wrong. Henry, then George.
The thought, the idea that you expressed in regard to prayer, where our level of being is our real prayer. Now, in the light of that, the efforts or the techniques, methods that are used, especially in metaphysical movements, where they are affirming themselves into a certain state that they would like to be in, without seeing their true level of being, to what extent is affirmation applicable, or in that case, how much power do such affirmations have?
I understand, yes. All right, let's see the difference between a right idea and trying to convince ourselves of a false sense of self by repeating an idea. It is an idea, a right idea, that we are able to be new. That's new. But to simply repeat over and over, I am new every day, I am new every day, which is correct on the intellectual level. That's right, I am new every day, if I see it, if I realize it. But to try to convince myself of it on the mechanical, intellectual level will never work. Because I am not that thought. I am not that thought. And it simply becomes a mechanical praying with repetition. If I can go beyond identifying myself with the idea, something that is higher than the idea will understand it. And that something that is higher than the idea has no identification with it because it's cosmic consciousness. Then I can realize on a higher level that I am new. Every second I am new. But I'll never do it on the level of trying to keep my pseudo-identity by saying I am a child of God who is new every moment. Then I go out and blow up. Children of God don't blow up and get mad. So there's some contradiction there, isn't there? I can't convince myself of that because I'm working on a level where there's no real convincing. This is very hard to explain. You're going to have to see the difference between a mere idea and understanding that idea from a higher level. When the higher descends to the lower and understands it, which it always does, then you can teach that to yourself or to other people. Go ahead, Jim.
No, on the thought came to me on the level of affirmation, what you're trying to do is to bring about something through thought that already is. But if we get ourselves out of the way, that's the difficult part, is to eliminate the garbage, the hostility, the anxiety and everything else.
You're a child of God when you don't think about it. Okay? If I think about it, I'm trying to keep me as a child of God, which means I want there to be me and God. Me, for example, being taken care of. My husband is mean to me, but God will take care of me. Thank heaven I have God to look up to. You're sick.
Well, in other words, you cannot really affirm your way into God or into truth. Only realize your
Okay, fair enough.